Okay. Happy Friday. Another week. This is October 5th. We're halfway through October? Unreal. The 15th. Okay. Admiral Harry Cooper has been flown in especially for tonight's program. And ordinarily Harry would, on Friday and Saturday nights, be out chasing the neighborhood meth dealers away from his home. But tonight he's decided to spend a little time exploring history with us. The crankheads can do what they want tonight. Harry will not be out to bother you. So go have fun. One of the big stories of World War II, and, well, today, is the story of the brilliant German pocket battleship, the Admiral Graf Spee. Just an incredible story, the whole thing. We're going to explore that tonight with Harry, who knows as much about it as anybody should be allowed to know, and we've got some great pictures for you. This was a story that I would like to see someday, if this planet ever survived, have a happy ending, and that would be to pull what's left of the ship up and reconstruct it and make a museum out of it. It's weird how people are so afraid of history, especially if they were brainwashed during the whatever war it was, and they just won't go there. They're afraid. Fear runs this whole damn species of ours, and that's going to be our downfall. That's going to be the end. Too much fear. Anyway, Captain Hans Langsdorff, a name that many of you may have heard but probably don't know too much about. We have a lot to talk about tonight. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Welcome back, Admiral.
I'm back in from chasing crack dealers.
Yep. Admiral.
Neighborhood's pretty quiet, thank God. I've been working with the local sheriff, who's a friend of mine, and we get these guys at least a run out of our neighborhood. They may be in somebody else's neighborhood, but that's not my problem.
That's not exactly the story Admiral Cooper told me. He said they found a place to bury the bodies that no one would ever find. And
yeah, right alongside, what's his name, Brian Laundrie.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
How can anyone be named Laundrie?
I don't know. I'd be changing my name.
Well, you'd think that poor little girl should have known by the name that there's something screwed up with the guy.
Yeah, it's tragic. She had so much life ahead of her, and she looked like such a happy young lady. And
well, let's not forget about the 1.6 million now, Harry, and that's the new projection. Americans who have been murdered, who had their lives, in many cases, all ahead of them. And they've been murdered by the bioweapon they're trying to call a vaccine. They've been murdered, and millions more permanently, irrevocably damaged, and millions and millions more right now on a slow road to an early death, and they don't know
Yeah, I
it.
sent you the thing about Eric Clapton, so you can
I didn't see
judge
it.
from that.
Is this? Well, he's still alive. I know he's sick.
Yeah, but he, according to the report, after he took the jab, his arm was paralyzed for a while, and now he's sending a lot of money to anti-vax causes, and of course the dingbats on The View were all, claiming he was some kind of monster from the dark planet Mongo or something.
You watch The View?
No. I just got a... Are you kidding? I just got
I would think you'd throw something
brief.
through your... You better not. You'll end up throwing things through your big screen. It is so repulsive.
I'm sure those people...
No. There's
I work...
filth,
garbage.
garbage.
You and I were emailing back and forth this morning at 4 o'clock in the morning my time, and I've been going... I did take about an hour snooze just before Todd called, but I don't have time to watch TV. I watch, let's see, at noon I watch a show called Cheaters, people catching their significant other cheating, and then, the confrontation. That's fun. And then I watch The Five on Fox, and that's about it.
Well, a little bit of a diversion never hurt. It's okay. Here's the thing. Cheating, why even have a relationship if you're gonna cheat? Seriously.
Yeah.
What's the point? Why? Why do you have to con someone? Male, female, female, male. I don't care. I don't cheat. In a few relationships,
lying.
It's worse than that.
Okay.
Yes, it is. It is. But I don't believe in it. I don't do it. I just don't.
The way I found the best way, before I got married, we've been married 36 years. Matter of fact, the end of this month is our 36th anniversary. But before that, I was young. I had a lot of money. Not anymore. I had a fancy car. I had a nice boat. I lived on my boat in a marina, and I had a whole bunch of girlfriends. But I told each one of them that I had a whole bunch of girlfriends, so there was no surprise.
Right.
And there were times I'd take two of them out to dinner, and sometimes three of them. They knew each other. They got along. Sometimes, the two or three had come over to my place on. I had a house also. On a Saturday, they'd clean my house, wash my clothes, and cook my dinner, and then they'd go home, except one would stay. Now, I know I've probably lost a lot of fans there. My fan base probably went from 10 down to 3. But that, as long as you level up front, that way nobody can get upset.
Of course. And if you don't want to be loyal to someone, don't waste their time.
Yeah,
don't
true.
waste your time.
Exactly.
Anyway.
And Kay didn't like me because she was the manager of the marina, and every morning I'd come in to have coffee with her boss, who was my friend, and he owned the marina, and I always had somebody on either arm, and she just didn't like that. She thought I was a real chauvinist, which I guess she's right, and she asked me to take her for a ride on my speedboat. 2 weeks later, we were married, and all the girlfriends were gone. And I'll tell you what, it's changed my life. It's changed shark hunters. It's changed everything about me. They say marriage is supposed to be 50-50, but in this case, it's probably 80-20, because I'm not an easy guy to get along with, and she's just a super lady. We got 2 great kids, and next Tuesday should have been my first son's birthday, but he never made it to 21, so...
It's next Tuesday. Well, I'll be thinking good thoughts your way, my friend.
I appreciate it. Anyhow, Norberto had a great idea here.
Well, we've done this before, but not I don't think, as elaborately as we're going to do this. Years ago, we did the Graf Spee to a degree. I think it was folded into a part of another program. But we're going to take a good look at this tonight. So, yeah.
It could have been. I don't remember what I had for breakfast, let alone what you and I had on the air a couple of years ago.
Well, Harry always has fun with me. He always writes to me.
These are fun shows. Yeah, they really are.
He writes to me and he says, "Well, it's 2 weeks until our next program. What are you going to do to plan for it? What's the subject you're going to do?" He always asks me to pick the subject, which is very nice. I mean, he's only got 2.5 million photographs of World War II and things. But,
actually, 285,000.
It's fun. It's fun. Here, see if this rings a bell. Eric Clapton.
There you go.
And Jack Bruce on the bass.
Yeah, one of the great guitarists of, the late 70s, early 80s?
Late 60s. And Ginger Baker, the greatest rock drummer ever.
Okay.
This is Eric singing.
Yeah, that was from back in the late 70s, early 80s, wasn't it?
Late 60s.
Oh, okay.
Clapton jamming. Listen to his guitar. Ginger Baker on drums. Amazing. This is Clapton at his early zenith.
They pretty well defined an era.
This is Cream. Listen to that guy. Okay. There you go. So there's Eric Clapton. Wounded, injured permanently by the vax, not happy, as no one would be, temporarily paralyzed with his hands. I think he's got much of the use back and is back on tour. He will not apparently play anywhere that bars unvaxxed people from coming in.
Yeah, I saw that in the clip I sent you. Well, more and more people are starting to push back. As you know, Chicago's my old hometown, and I got a clip from one of my buddies in Chicago, Greg Galinsky, the guy that does all our great artwork.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and Major, what's her name, Lori Lightfoot, the mayor, the one they call the troll.
Lizard Lightfoot.
Yeah, Lizard Lightfoot. She's about 4'6", and they call her the troll. And she demanded that every Chicago cop be vaccinated by midnight tonight. And the president of the Chicago Police Union says absolutely not. Don't show, even if you're vaxxed, don't show any proof of vaccination. So now we're coming up to the old philosophical question of what happens when the irresistible force meets the immovable object. And somebody else popped up, another one of the liberal nitwits there in Chicago, and said, good, let's get rid of half the force and funnel the money that would have been going to their salaries into rent, or anti-eviction, etc. Yeah, that's what you need is half the cops in Chicago. It's already a shooting gallery.
She has the highest number of shooting fatalities in the nation. I think injuries as well.
They're averaging about 12 to 15 people a day getting shot, and 2 or 3 of them dead.
Right.
Apparently, these guys were never in the military, because if they wound 12 and kill 3, not a very good average. Maybe they shouldn't be shooting anybody.
No. I could say something, but I won't. All right. Here's a reminder to go to the top of the homepage and look at this fabulous, fabulous light show, the volcano, Cumbre Vieja volcano on La Palma Island in the Canaries. What a scene this has been. Last night the dome broke down and all the lava began being pumped straight out rather than shot in the air and falling back down in the caldera. It's pouring out all over the place now, running through neighborhoods, leveling neighborhoods. Took out a supermarket yesterday and a soccer field, and there's
no defense when that happens.
Oh no, go look, just click at the top of the homepage, and we're going to go to our pictures with Harry in a moment, but you can see I've been leaving this up for, I don't know, a week and a half now. It's a fascinating display of planetary geology.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary.
Well, that's
okay.
Not natural. That's because of all the people who don't get vaccinated. That's why it's happening.
Yeah, that's right. I think Lizard said that, I think.
Yep.
Okay. The Lizard. She's, what is she? A quadrisexual, 4'6" little, whatever.
I don't know what her preferences are, but as a mayor, she really is pitiful. as are most of the mayors in the liberal big cities.
They're all communists. Come on.
Yeah.
That's what they are.
They're worth nothing, and I'm surprised that Gavin Newsom survived his recall. Everybody hated him, but all of a sudden...
anything. It's fixed. Come on. We learned our lesson in 2020.
Somebody would fix an election? Oh, my God, just like the presidential in 2020.
Identical.
Yeah.
Yep. We have no more political system in this country. It's gone.
Pretty
we
well.
don't have a government. We don't. Your local governments are dominated by city councils that in many cases are Agenda 2030, Agenda whatever. And they're all corrupt. The school boards, horrible school boards in many cases. Horrible people. Wretched people. All right.
Fortunately, down here in the South, it's still pretty right-wing conservative.
Yeah.
So far.
Okay. Onward.
Moving along.
Let's go onward, backward. Let's go backward and let's take a look at a phenomenal event that came out of World War II. Click on guests. Admiral Harry Cooper first up, the saga of the great Graf Spee. And click on that and you'll bring up our gallery put together by my webmaster who has no equal, Norberto. He is a genius at this, and we really appreciate you, Norberto.
Yeah, he is darn good.
Okay. So each of these are thumbnails. You can click on them and enlarge them. You want to start with number one. How odd that is, starting with number one. But let's start somewhere.
What a clever idea.
Yeah. Okay. Numero uno is up there. What do we got?
I don't know. I'm still looking for today's guest. There we go. The saga of the great Graf Spee. First, what the listeners should know, Graf Spee, in the German language, Graf, G-R-A-F, means a count, like an earl, a duke, whatever. And so this was named after Maximilian Graf von Spee. He was Maximilian the Count from Spee, and he was also the commander of the German battle fleet in World War I that got destroyed down there in the Falkland Islands. So that's where they got the name for the Graf Spee. Supposedly, according to most military naval historians, one of the most beautiful warships ever built. And it was called a Panzer ship, which means an armored ship, I guess. But it's kind of a pocket battleship. It had the hull and the speed and the maneuverability of a cruiser, but it was packing the guns of a battleship. So
Keel
number
laid
one,
in 1932, I think.
something like that, yeah. Number one. They were putting her together, and I think that's when they bashed the champagne on her bow. You can see the little.
Well, it's either that or it was an awfully big seagull.
Yeah, with good aim. And number two, there she's ready to go down the ways. You'll notice some people don't realize that when a ship is built and launched, they don't build the entire ship on the launch pad. They or in the shipyard. They build the hull with the machinery and all that stuff, and then they slide it down into the water, which you see in number two, and then they build all the superstructure, the deck and everything else. Otherwise, you'd have a hell of a time getting it out of there. Would weigh 4 times as much. And shot number 3 shows the same thing. She's getting ready to go down into the water. Sorry if I'm being a little froggy here. It's muggy here in Florida.
I told you not to move there. You wouldn't listen.
Oh, come on. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. We got a great governor and mask mandate.
You know what else you have? You apparently have a pretty fair senator in Rick Scott.
Yeah, I met him. I met him when he was first running for governor. I'm with the Republican Executive Committee, and the president at that time, chairman of the committee, owned a restaurant, and she had him come to the restaurant. And my daughter Megan and I were standing right next to him. Megan was talking to him, just a regular guy. Yeah, he's pretty sharp. I think Marco Rubio is passable. Our governor is an ass kicker. He's an awesome guy. In my 82 years of living on this planet, I've never seen a governor like him anywhere. This guy does the job. He gets things done, and he's not beholden to any political group. So they keep saying he might want to run for president, and I say, hell no, stay in Florida. We need you here. Bring Trump back to the presidency.
If he tries to do anything as president, they'll JFK him. Come on, you know that. That's the sad part.
Yeah, that's a good possibility. So,
all right, number 3, great picture. Did you know there was a city in Germany, Rense?
I did not know that.
I saw it on a map. It was a map like 1700s or something. It was a city in Germany, and there was supposedly a von Rense at one point on the German side of the family. And then the Italian side was Renzi, Renzi. And anyway, we had good history back there back in the day.
Back in the day, right. And back in the 1700s, when your people were over there in England, my family was here in the United States. So when people tell me we're all immigrants, I tell them, my family on my dad's side, the Coopers, were in what is now the U.S. since 1740. They lived in New York, upstate. Wow. So the U.S. emigrated into the Cooper family. Well, there goes the rest of my viewing audience.
It's all right. Hey, look, we all have stories, and that's what makes it fun.
Makes the world go round.
Yeah. Number 4. What a scene. Look at that. Look at all the people there cheering.
Yeah, I was just going to say they had hundreds, thousands.
Oh, there's thousands there. There would have been that would have been about 1935, I'd guess. Something like that.
Yeah. I didn't get dates on these things.
Well,
but
if they laid the keel in 32, that's 3 years later.
Yeah.
German efficiency would have suggested that, anyway, it's around 1935.
Okay. And the people were, Germany was getting their pride back with Hitler. You notice all those people with the right arm in the air. Hitler was pretty well in control by that time, and they loved him. He was getting things done.
He pulled off the most astonishing economic miracle in modern times. It earned him 3 covers of Time magazine, one of which was a portrait of him with his hat on, and you cannot find that magazine. That magazine has been taken out of every... I used to look in libraries. It's missing. They have Time magazines. They're all bound together, but that one has been cut out and taken. I wonder
Can't imagine why.
Yeah.
I'm being facetious, of course.
Rader
was also on the cover once. Admiral Rader.
Oh. Interesting.
Way back in the day.
Number 5. There's Rader. Yeah.
Yeah, Grand Admiral Rader. He was admiral of the fleet at that time, and Hitler up at the railing. This is from a scrapbook that one of our people sent. That's a nice thing about shark hunters. We got members everywhere, and they contribute to this history that helps keep it alive.
Look at that photograph. That's an old photograph. That's how they used to trim the ends. Mm-hmm. The edges of them. Anyway, that's an old photo. That's a vintage photograph. Fascinating.
I have another one that I have not put up here. It's laying on my desk right here. I'm looking at it. Of Grouse Bay burning. It was taken by an old man. He was a kid at the time. But Martina and I were sitting in Uruguay. I forget the name of the town, not Montevideo, but the other, the big high buck, almost like the Riviera, and at a nice outdoor restaurant. And right across the street was a Trump Tower. And this old guy comes pedaling up on a bicycle, I think I think Martine set it up. He stopped by us, and he had this old picture, and it was all written on the back, printed on heavy chipboard, like they did back in the day.
Wow. All right, number 6.
An incredible, beautiful ship.
Don't look at that flag or you may go blind.
That's right, your brain will melt. If you look closely, I didn't put circles on them, but down on the after deck, those one on either side of the ship, there's that fixture with the 4 holes. Those are torpedo tubes.
That's right there on the side.
Right.
Right. So they can swing that out
around.
Yeah.
They can rotate them around and fire the torpedoes.
Look what's on the stern of the ship.
Yeah, I was just going to say they're on the transom.
Remember that. Remember that. Okay.
You betcha. We'll get to that directly. But what a beautiful ship, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quite a few of our members were on board that ship during this time.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I didn't know it at the time. And these Germans, boy, you ask them a question, man, they'll tell you everything. But if you don't ask them the direct question, they won't volunteer anything. So I didn't realize until these guys were dead. Jürgen Wattenberg, he was the navigation officer. His son is still a member of Shark Hunters. And I met him in 1988 when we went over there. What a pleasant gentleman. What a nice guy. Kurt Diggins, who retired as Captain zur See, he was the adjutant on that ship. Wattenberg was also, in 1930, he was a training officer, and 2 of his cadets, who were always playing jokes on him, was Joachim Schepke, who was commander of U-100.
Oh, that's guy. Yeah, I remember
and the great
that
one himself, Otto Kratschmer, the top submarine commander of the war, and a good personal friend of mine. I had a sleeping room in his house. So it was a small Navy. They kind of intertwined with everything.
You know, the nice thing, I'll say this aside, it's not for you personally, but just to our listeners. Harry Cooper earned the respect of some of the most remarkable people of the last century and got to know them. That's not to take anything away from any other member of any other military, but he was the one who put this organization together and got to know these people and hear their stories firsthand. That's why the books at Shark Hunters and the videos are so incredibly extraordinary. They come from people who lived the events. Special.
Thank you. Yeah, people can see, your listeners can go to our website, sharkhunters.com, and there's a section called Free Films. You click on that and view as many as you want. Ryan Wendland is one of our members, and he's putting them up as fast as we can. We had hundreds of them, as you know, up on YouTube, but those scum-sucking bottom feeders one day just cut our whole channel off the air without a notice or anything, just chopped. And, you know, we had some speeches by Hitler. We had some by Dönitz. We had some speeches by Ronald Reagan, too, who was a member of Shark Hunters. But they never gave us any explanation. Just one morning I went to look at it. It was gone.
Do you know, this is an interesting little note. A certain group, I will not mention whom, made a habit of getting every filmed live speech that Hitler gave, virtually everyone, and they would re-edit it, remaster it, and speed it up. So he sounded like an enraged mouse. His normal speaking voice was distorted to make him sound more comic-like. And there are some recordings up there of the actual speaking voice of Uncle Addie, and he surprisingly sounds quite normal.
Oh, God forbid you should think he was normal, and he's supposed to be an evil monster.
No, the evil monster was named Mao Zedong, Joseph Stalin, Vladimir Lenin, Pol Pot,
oh yeah,
Bomber Harris, Winston Churchill, Franklin D. Roosevelt and the whole Roosevelt administration. There's your evil ones. Sorry. Yeah. And I'll say it again. I'm not speaking for Harry or for shark hunters or anything. Germany was our last hope to avoid the mess we're in right now. Believe it. End of comment.
Okay. 7, that's another stern shot of the Graf Spee, showing the accommodation ladder down on the starboard side, and we're at the stern. There's that eagle on the transom. And then we click on over to number 8. That's their Arado scout plane. So back then they did not have radar to go over the horizon, so they put a scout plane up, and they could radio back whatever they saw. It enlarged their radius of action, and the Graf Spee was there strictly for commerce rating. It wasn't supposed to get into, pitched battles, like the old, like Peter Hansen says, the battleship admirals, like Bismarck and the Hood, etc. That's not what Graf Spee was designed for. It was designed for commerce rating, and as you'll see further on, they had a big sign in English up on the tower there, bridge, whatever. It says basically, don't send
wireless transmissions. I'll blow you out of the water.
Exactly, and so this Arado would be zipping around to find a target so the Graf Spee could head that way. And you'll notice it's a float plane because it had no way to land on the ship. It catapulted off the ship and landed in the water next to the ship coming back, and they'd hoist it aboard. And when I was down there in, I think it was 2010, we went to the town of Villa General Belgrano, named for one of the great naval heroes of Argentina, Belgrano. And this is where all the German enlisted men from Graf Spee were sent after the war, and they made it into a really nice German community, and I bought a T-shirt down there that has a picture of the Graf Spee. In 2009 or 10, they're still selling pictures of Graf Spee on T-shirts.
How
and I met the last living survivor of the Graf Spee, and it was his responsibility to make sure that the aircraft launch was operating properly so they could send this guy into the wild blue to find targets. And then the battleship would come up on the target and tell them, don't use your radio or we're going to blow you out of the water. And they'd take everybody prisoner and put a prize crew on board the ship and try to get it back to Germany. That's the way they did it back in the old sailing ship war days. Seize the other guy's ship and use it.
Mm-hmm. Wow. The aircraft, one Heinkel HE-60 float plane, armor, 140 millimeter, 5.5 inch.
5.5 inch what?
Main turrets.
Oh, okay. You're talking about the ship. I was wondering, how.
No, they got it mixed up here. No, they got it mixed up here.
That's a hell of a gun to put on a float plane.
8 diesel engines.
Their main guns were 11 inch, I think, or the equal in millimeters. It was fast, maneuverable.
600 feet long, 2 football fields.
Yep, beautiful ship. I'm guessing probably about 1,000 crew, something like that.
Yeah, that would be about right.
Yeah. If you go to the next picture, number 9, you'll see that on the front of the superstructure where it says "Stop Wireless" or "I open fire." Because, it's in English because they were stopping English ships. This was when the war just first started, 1939. 1939. The war was only a couple of months old.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Great pictures.
Yeah.
Remarkable.
Norberto said he's never seen so many pictures of that particular combat.
Mm-hmm. Okay, number 10.
Yeah.
This is not the Graf Spee. This is
not the Graf Spee. This is HMS Ajax. There were 3 Royal Navy cruisers down there looking for the Spee. Ajax, which was number 10, Achilles, which is photo 11, and Exeter, photo 12. Achilles and Ajax were lighter cruisers. I think they mounted 6-inch guns for their main turret, and Exeter, if I remember correctly, had 8-inch guns. And looking at that thing, that definitely was left over from another war.
Sure.
Achilles, which is photo number 11, had the first, let me get the words right here, the first attack radar on any ship in the Royal Navy.
Huh.
So when they found Graf Spee, they got into one hell of a gun battle, as we all know. Spee was damaged. Ajax, Achilles, and Exeter all suffered damage to one degree or another. And then the Graf Spee ducked into Montevideo. Now, a little self-promotion there. Photo 13. As you know, we're offering a free membership to anybody who wants it for the balance of this year. And it's free, free, free. None of this buy one, get one free or any of that stuff. No credit card, nothing. All we need is a name and an email address. Just send us an email at sharkhunters@sharkhunters.com. Tell us your name, your email, and say you want to be a member till the end of the year. It's free. January 1, if you want to stay aboard, we're happy to keep you. If you don't want to, okay. C'est la vie.
Very good. Number 14.
Number 14.
Yeah.
You've been a member since 2013.
1956, wasn't it?
Something like that. Okay, photo 14. These are all the casualties from the Graf Spee. I think there were 36 men killed. And they're all buried down there in Buenos Aires. They're coming into Montevideo at this point. Montevideo, or Uruguay, the whole country of Uruguay, was about the only South American country that was very pro-British, whereas the rest of them were all pro-Axis, pro-German primarily. Now...
Don't look at those flags, please.
Yeah, I know. Your brain melts. Now, what is 15? Lordy, lordy. Uplitza. And it says, please do not print. But that was from Pizarro, and he was conveniently dead a couple of years ago. Conveniently, meaning I don't believe it was natural, but anyhow. This is one of the Uplitza, which is short for unbekannt Platz, which means an unknown place. This is part of the Straits of Magellan, and you'll notice, well, if you can read charts, all sorts of little hidden harbors, coves, etc., that Canaris, when he was just an Oberleutnant or maybe just Kapitänleutnant in 1915, when the cruiser squadron of Graf von Spee got blown out of the water, all the cruisers were gone except for the one he was on, the Dresden. It was one knot faster than the British ship, so it got away. And as it went through the Straits of Magellan, Rader was making all these charts, secret charts, showing hidden harbors, no facilities or anything, just an empty harbor with high trees all around it where ships could hide. And the Langsdorff radioed headquarters and asked, could he ask for permission for him to head down there to hide. But permission was denied because OKM, the Navy High Command, was concerned that maybe the Brits would follow him and find some of these hidden harbors.
Now, this is Straits of Magellan along the bottom end of...
yeah.
Below Patagonia, at the bottom end of South America.
Yeah.
It's been on the Argentine side, I assume.
Right. Well, and also on the Chilean side, too.
Mm-hmm.
So let's skip. I misnumbered things. So let's skip to number 21 for a second.
Okay.
Now,
Got it?
This battleship, pocket battleship, didn't have enough fuel or supplies to keep going indefinitely, and there was no McDonald's to pull into. So this ship, the Altmark, was a supply ship, tanker, etc., that was in the vicinity of Graf's Bay. Every time it needed provisions, they'd get together. It did disappear for 3 months, and we are quite certain that it went into one of these Upleta. So we know the Kriegsmarine was using them, but they just wouldn't let the battleship in there.
What was the ultimate... What happened to the
the Altmark?
Yeah.
It got away after the cruisers and the Battle of the Rio de la Plata was finished. They waited some time and then headed out. They got back as far as Norway. They were in a Norwegian fjord, but then a British task force came in and stormed the ship and released all the prisoners they had on board. They had been picking up prisoners from every ship they were attacking, and the Graf's Bay would capture a ship, and the prisoners would go aboard the Altmark. So they released the Altmark prisoners, and they took the German sailors prisoners, and Altmark, I think, was pressed into service for the Brits. That way they don't have to build another ship.
Cold down there. Lots of snow.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to
16.
16. That's after 15. Unless they've changed things on me.
You went to school, didn't you?
I did. Honestly, I did. 16. Okay. Now look at that.
That's the last photo we know of that was taken of the Graf's Bay before its demise, and all the people were lined up on the shore there in Uruguay, expecting to see a major gun battle. Although I'm not sure it's wise to be standing there if 8-inch shells and 15-inch shells are flying around. Ruin the paint job on your car, that's for damn sure. And but they were waiting for this big naval gun battle that never happened.
So Langsdorff was ready to go out, they thought, and engage those 3 British ships in a fight to the death.
Well, that's what they thought, yeah. But it wasn't, in Langsdorff's mind, it was not the 3 British cruisers, because by then, the 2 battleships, King George V and Prince of Wales, I think, or Rodney, King George V and Rodney had come up, and the aircraft carrier Ark Royal was all waiting offshore for them.
How did they get down there so fast?
They didn't. They had fake radio transmissions between the 3 cruisers. And his guys were picking up on it, and oh God, we'll never make it. And I don't think he had enough ammunition left on board to fight even just the 3 cruisers, but he thought there were 2 battleships and a carrier out there.
Got it.
The mouth of the Rio de la Plata at this point is extremely wide. I think it's like 50 kilometers wide. Martin and I went from Buenos Aires across to Uruguay. It took 3 hours on the ferry. True, we were not going battleship speed, we were making a good 10, 15 knots, and it took 3 hours to get across. So Longstore figured he only had enough ammunition for about halfway across. So they put together this elaborate plan. They left everybody ashore except just for a skeleton crew. They got out there, set the charges, got off in the whaleboats, the lifeboats, and had it prearranged for a couple of German ships to come along as rescue ships because the Graf Spee had an internal problem and it exploded by accident, they said, so that they wouldn't get tangled up in international maritime law. But the people back on shore says, yeah, right, baloney, it doesn't count. So you guys are interned.
Wow. The people, I'm still hung up on these people lining up there, literally thinking they were going to see world history made. That's what they were thinking.
Oh, yeah, they thought they were going to see this great naval gun battle.
Gunfight at the OK Corral, but on water.
Yeah, so you look at 18 then, and you can see the ship is starting to collapse upon itself. The fires burned, I forget how long, I think it was 3 days, I don't recall. But there was nothing salvageable as a warship. To be salvaged and rebuilt as a museum, maybe, with a ton of money. But to be used as a warship, absolutely out of the question. She was dead. 19, you'll notice the after.
Well, I'm looking. Hold on. Let me just back up a little bit here.
Okay.
Let me go back to 16. Look at everyone out there. They're watching. Yep. That ship is a mile offshore?
It's quite a ways out.
Is it more than a mile?
No, I don't think so. I think it's less than a mile.
So that's right in there. 17. The orders have been given by, obviously, Berlin to Langsdorff, right?
Well, I'm not sure if he had the orders or if he took it upon himself because he couldn't get away.
Know. Okay.
No, I'm sure that is known somewhere. I just don't have it.
Okay. The Graf Spee could have stayed in the river, right? Couldn't it have hung out in the river and just been impounded, so to speak, for the remainder of the war?
I don't know. They were in Montevideo for repairs because they had gotten pretty well damaged. But by international law, they only had 48 hours, and then they had to get out. I don't know all the details, but I figure here you're the captain of a massive pocket battleship, bigger than anything the Uruguay Navy ever saw. You could just tell him, he's leaving. What are you going to do about it? But he pulled out anyhow, and he knew that it was a one-way ride. I would have thought, with all the weaponry he's got there, nobody could force him out. The Navy of Uruguay was patrol boats, but he had to leave. He came in at night, and apparently the approach to Montevideo is kind of clear and straightforward, where the approach to Buenos Aires was a little complicated, and maybe he didn't want to get hung up on a shoal. But if he had gone,
if you'll note, and in subsequent pictures, the ship sitting on the bottom isn't very far down there.
Oh, right. There was only at the most 10 feet of water beneath the keel.
Correct.
So it didn't have far to sink. Most of it was sticking up.
All right. Well, we're pausing on, I guess, number 18 at this point. We'll take a little break here at the top and come back. Talking about one of the most remarkable and celebrated, in a way, if that's the right word, events of World War II in the early days. Just extraordinary tactics. The idea that Captain Langsdorff thought there was an aircraft carrier and thought that there were 2 battleships there. Wow. And there weren't. There weren't. All right. I think he should have just stayed put in the river and said, "You want us? Come and get us."
Okay.
I would have done that.
He had bigger guns. He had longer range.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anyhow. Okay. Very good.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
I don't. That's a tough one. Honestly, would you have seen yourself saying, "Well, fine, we're staying right here. We're not moving. We're not going out to our own demise here." There's no cowardice in that. This is a strategic instrument of naval warfare, and there should be safe harbor should have been granted indefinitely. So I don't care if it's a British ship. You get damaged, you got dead, you go into there for you just stay, intern yourself for the war. Anyway, back in a minute. Hold on, everybody.
8735.
Known worldwide as the most consistently fascinating, informative, and unique program on radio, the Jeff Rense program can be yours to listen to anytime, anywhere, whenever you want to hear it. For pennies a day, our subscribers can download any of Jeff's thousands of programs featuring a treasury of newsmakers, researchers, eyewitnesses, and incredible subjects, all in MP3 commercial-free, crystal-clear 56-bit digital sound, and take these often unforgettable programs with them wherever they go. As a subscriber, you can also listen live at airtime, online, anywhere in the world, or browse through our archives of over 6,000 hours of legendary broadcasts. Subscribe now by taking the link at the top of Rense.com and enrich your mind with the most unique panorama of vital information and the best independent, honest journalism in radio. Look for the Subscribe Now link on Rense.com and give yourself the knowledge you need for these unprecedented times. Oxygen. It's nature's oldest therapy and plays an essential role in destroying viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, and fungus, and keeping the human body healthy and strong. Oxygen. It's nature's oldest therapy and plays an essential role in destroying viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, and fungus, and keeping the human body healthy and strong. Now, you can give your body and your immune system a mega boost of disease-fighting oxygen with all-natural Oxy-C. With so many people now leading a sedentary indoor lifestyle, most are in a chronic state of oxygen deprivation, which sets up a perfect environment for disease, general fatigue, and a host of other symptoms. Oxy-C is yours in simple, convenient capsules. Nothing to mix, nothing to hassle with. Take it with juice or water anytime. Feel a cold or flu approaching? Have no energy or spark anymore? Try all-natural Oxy-C and prepare to be amazed. Oxy-C is only available from New Earth Health Solutions at Rense.com. Look for the New Earth banner at Rense.com.
Are you prepared for the future? Do you know how to navigate past the upcoming dangers before it's too late and seize budding opportunities before others do? Forecasting worldwide since 1980, Gerald Celente, publisher of the Trends Journal, provides timely and accurate trend forecasts that have earned him the reputation as the most trusted name in trends. The proof is in the hundreds of accurate forecasts Celente has made over the past 30 years. The 1987 stock market crash, the clean food trend, the dot-com bust. The Trends Journal alerts subscribers to early, subtle signs of crucial trends that will shape our future. It allows readers to anticipate change, recognize the implications, and take proactive strategies. Put your money where your mind is with Gerald Celente's brilliant and indispensable Trends Journal. Go to trendsjournal.com or call 845-331-3500. That's 845-331-3500.
Known worldwide as the most consistently fascinating, informative, and unique program on radio, the Jeff Rense program can be yours to listen to anytime, anywhere, whenever you want to hear it. For pennies a day, our subscribers can download any of Jeff's thousands of programs featuring a treasury of newsmakers, researchers, eyewitnesses, and incredible subjects, all in MP3 commercial-free, crystal-clear 56-bit digital sound, and take these often unforgettable programs with them wherever they go. As a subscriber, you can also listen live at airtime, online, anywhere in the world, or browse through our archives of over 6,000 hours of legendary broadcasts. Subscribe now by taking the link at the top of Rense.com and enrich your mind with the most unique panorama of vital information and the best independent, honest journalism in radio. Look for the Subscribe Now link on Rense.com and give yourself the knowledge you need for these unprecedented times.
If you've been listening to this program for any length of time, you'll know that Fukushima, the greatest calamity in history, has now, as I've been warning since 3/11, killed off virtually the whole North Pacific Ocean and especially up and down the entire West Coast. The radiation is migrating inland and is moving across the entire country. There's only one proven defender to radiation exposure, the brilliant Chernobyl-proven discovery of Dr. Michael Curiak, which combines the 4 most potent and powerful algae on the planet, imported to the U.S. and known as bio-superfood. I've taken bio-superfood every day for several years now and want you to do the same for your sake and the health and safety of your family and loved ones. Take the banner at the top of Rense.com and prepare to learn how to save your life.
Scientists in England have succeeded in stabilizing the time-honored substance in garlic that destroys harmful bacteria, viruses, molds, yeast, and fungus. This all-natural microbe killer is called Allicin C, and it's now available to you in 100% vegetarian capsules only on the New Earth page at Rense.com. This powerful broad-spectrum antimicrobial agent is harmless to friendly bacteria and has been concentrated to equal an astonishing 35 cloves of garlic in each vegetarian capsule. Think about it. The antibacterial, antiviral strength of 35 odorless cloves of garlic in just one capsule. Allicin C is so effective it even destroys superbug MRSA in test after test. Allicin C is truly an incredible advance in natural medicine, and with the threats of bacterial and viral diseases and pandemics growing, no home should be without it. Learn more and order Allicin C on the New Earth page at Rense.com.
Hey, want to feel young again? Are you tired, run down, have aches and pains, brain fog? This is science-based, not hype or fancy marketing. It really works. Carbon 60 helps detoxify your body on the cellular level. It stabilizes free radicals, just like the antioxidants found in red wine and berry stew, but on a far smaller, more bioavailable nanoscale. It's like a bottle of electrons, helping your body to function better. You can also apply it on your skin topically, over muscles, joints, or organs. Most people feel results within minutes. This is not a drug. It's organic carbon. Feel better today. About 95% of our users report more energy and clarity of mind within 10 days. Give us a call at Greska's Carbon 60 at 720-600-6040 or visit our site at c-60.com. Call 720-600-6040 and feel young again.
Okay, let's get right back to Admiral Harry Cooper and the story of the Admiral Graf Spee. Here's a little thing. This is a German naval song. It's actually in English. And wait till I tell you how many listens this has had. It's a YouTube video. Okay. Thought we should honor all sailors of all countries, and how many people honor German sailors? Not over in this part of the world, so there you go. Just
well, we do here
those,
at Shark Hunters, and that gets us in trouble all the time. These were not evil people. These were honorable sailors.
It sounds like a song that could have been an American naval song. For goodness sakes, these are people. People.
Yep.
This was up 3 years ago, and over 1.4 million views of this video.
Mm-hmm.
So, people haven't forgotten.
We try to keep memories alive. Now,
People who
20,
lost their lives would appreciate that, Harry, as you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Number
20.
Onward. Okay.
Swansea. That's all that's sticking up out of the water of Gruff's Bay.
Was the keel broken when it went down? Is it all busted up in pieces, or just the superstructure pretty much destroyed?
I think it was pretty much from the interior on up, but I don't know if the hull was destroyed or not. I don't know.
If that were refloated, brought into a repair yard, and made to look like it did, like they should have left the Ober-Salzburg together.
Oh yeah,
all of it. Imagine the tourist money that they'd make. They'd probably pay they'd pay for it all in probably about 3, 4, 5 years. They'd pay for the whole restoration.
Yeah. Living down here in Florida, I see how many people flock to Disney World. Same thing. You can't even move in Disney World. I don't go there. My wife, my son, and my daughter, they've all got annual passes. Megan's there every couple of weeks. There's times you can't even move. You got a 2-hour wait to get on a ride. I'm sure it would be the same thing. And Wally World, except for this Kung Flu scamdemic, they were making money by the boatload, and it would be the same thing for the Gruff's Bay or for the Ober-Salzburg. But we're not supposed to remember, World War what? Adolf who? We don't want to get into any...
That's right.
We don't want to get into any political things.
Well, I don't mind.
Over number 21.
I always like politics. All right, go to number 22.
Thanks, honey. Love you. My wife was just coming in with more tea for me. Number 22.
What a sweetie. All right.
Oh, she's a great lady. Our anniversary's coming up on the 30th. Anyhow, that's Longstorm. Notice he's got his hand inside his jacket. He's not emulating Napoleon. He got slightly injured in the battle, and so he's kind of alleviating the pain.
His arm is up. I'd say that's an arm injury, and he's holding it up.
Okay, I thought it was his chest, but at any rate, he's got a slight wound. Look off to the right there, Diggins. That's Captain Diggins. He was a member of Shark Hunters until he died. I've met with him I don't know how many times over there in Germany. He was head of the German Submariners Association, but there's none of them left, hardly. The last skipper died a couple of months ago. But that was Diggins. He was an adjutant on board Gruff's Bay.
Who's on the left?
Left? Yeah, I think that's... I can't see his rank. So he would either be Captain Zorc K, who was then put in charge of all the survivors of the the Gruff's Bay, to get them situated in Buenos Aires to keep them from being imprisoned. They were...
Understood.
Say again?
I understand. I get it.
They were interred, but not imprisoned. Mm-hmm. So either that or it's Captain Niebuhr, who was with the embassy there, who really was a spy.
Now, the chronology of this picture, number 22, for example, was taken when in relation to the destruction of the ship?
Right afterwards.
The notice
a day
I
or
just,
two afterwards.
Yeah, they're noticed. They're dressed in their finest officer.
Well, they're in their summer uniforms because it was December. Yeah. And December is the height of summer down there.
Yeah. Okay. Number 23.
I think, I'm not positive, but I think this was at the funeral ceremonies for the guys that were killed on board the ship. You see a priest there on the lower right.
There's a priest there on the right, yeah.
Yeah. Sure. And he's in his formal dress uniform, gloves and all, Langsdorff. So, and 24, he's back. He's back with his guys again. I'm sure that is Niebuhr on the left, because he's got the braids on his uniform, which usually means they're an aide or something like that. Langsdorff's in the middle, and on the far right, that is Diggins again. He's on Langsdorff's left, but he's in photo right. That's Diggins again. And
how did this go? Go ahead.
I didn't even know the guy was on board the Graf Spee until well after he died, and I knew him. I knew him well. He never bothered to tell me he was on the Graf Spee. Because if I had known, I would have just had a million more questions. But it's one thing about the Germans. You ask them a question, boy, they'll give you everything you need. But if you don't ask the question, they're not going to volunteer it.
Well, they're not braggarts.
Yeah, I guess that's the case. Great guys, honorable men.
Wow. Okay. Langsdorff was a very dapper and dashing captain.
Yeah, he was.
How did this go over in Germany when the ship was brought out, scuttled, and then blown up? What was the sentiment back home? Do you have much on that?
That's a good question. I flat out don't know. I don't know. Anything I would say would be just a guess.
Let me see if I can find something here. Okay, onward to number 25.
Right.
All right. Reading
tomorrow
newspapers.
I'll give Peter Hansen a call. He's 98. The guy still walks 7 miles a day, for God's sake. He was in the U-boats, and he knows everything about it. So I'll ask him how it was. Here in 25, you see Wattenberg on the left. He was the navigation officer. And he before this, he was training officer, and Kretschmer and Shepka were his students. Langsdorff's in the center, and Captain K is on the right, Captain Jose, and he took over getting all the guys situated. The officers, I think everyone to a man, got out of internment one way or another. Most returned to Germany. Wattenberg was commander of U-162. Diggins was commander of 466. Kay, however, was ordered to remain in Buenos Aires to resituate the crew. He was in charge of their welfare. And a lot of the other officers who did not get back to Germany went into the spook world in South America. Germany had a huge spy ring in South America. So those who didn't get back to Germany went into the spook work in South America. They believed in duty.
Well, they probably still have a spy network down there, although it's being run by their children. They know what's going on.
I know nothing. I hear nothing.
I didn't ask anything.
Or as we say over in the other country, meine Name is Hase, ich lebe in der Wald und ich kenne nicht. My name is Rabbit, I live in the woods, and I don't know nothing.
Very good. There's an original news story here about this, the scuttling of the ship People thought it was going to go out and it was going to fight to the death. That's what they thought. Langsdorff didn't want to lose he knew he was hopelessly outgunned. They were damaged, and he had 1,000 men he was responsible for, and he was obviously a very humane captain.
Yeah. So all those guys lived, except for the 36 who died in the engagement, plus himself. So here he's reading a newspaper. Now he's in his navy blues and or his dark uniform, and reading a newspaper. This is still shortly after. Of course, it had to be shortly after the blowing up of the ship, because he was dead within a week or two.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. He's a dapper guy, and he's smoking a cigar. So many of these old German skippers love their cigars. Kretschmer, Top, they all, and von Bülow. Every time you see him.
So did Adolf Galland.
Yes. So many of these guys love their cigars. And, like I say, Kretschmer also, but he quit smoking later on in life.
The Graf Spee did so much damage to Exeter that they were talking about just junking it, scrapping it.
Yeah.
It was decided it was such an important psychological aid to the war effort that so they reworked it. From what it looks like to me, she's an old ship. Not World War I or shortly thereafter. Yeah.
Right. Whereas Ajax and Achilles were fairly new and modern, but Exeter was one of the old flat flush deckers and just an ugly old ship.
She was so heavily reworked in the shipyard for a year that the Exeter was in the dockyard, finally returning to service in 1941. Joined the combined Dutch, British, American, Australian forces guarding the East Indies about a year later. She was damaged very early in the action at the Battle of the Java Sea. She was again the first cruiser damaged and had fallen out of the battle line in a way that perhaps cost the Allies what little hope they had in the campaign. Unable to repair the damage and with her speed reduced to 16 knots, she was intentionally sunk March 1st, 1942, making her one of only a few British ships to have the bitter distinction of being badly mauled by gunfire in both the Atlantic and the Pacific. And
a hell of a note.
Yeah, both.
Yeah, in the Pacific, in the early stages of the war, the Japanese had the Navy down there. They had the biggest, most powerful Navy ever assembled up to that point. But then came Midway, and Nimitz, who was a real genius, wiped out their 4 first-line carriers, and from then on, ball game was over for the Japanese. They just were getting beaten back left, right, and Sunday. Thank God for Nimitz. His son became a rear admiral, but his son and his wife, I guess maybe they were in pain or something later on in life. They had a conference with their children, decided they were going to commit suicide, so they took care of all they had to do with their kids, and I think they were in their 80s, and they committed suicide. Nimitz's son. That was Chester Nimitz Jr. and his wife.
Oh, this is interesting. The other three British ships most closely involved with the Graf Spee fight, the Ajax, the Achilles, and the Cumberland, all survived. The latter two, in fact, played themselves in a movie about the battle. They were in a movie.
Cumberland?
Yeah. Ajax, Achilles, and Cumberland were the three. That's what it says here.
I never heard that.
They weren't scrapped until 1978.
Okay.
Anyway, there you go. I'm trying to find out how this went over in England. very, very well, but I mean, in Germany, the opposite would be expected.
Yeah, they would not be cheering that one.
No, I wouldn't think that they would have been real happy that the ship didn't go down fighting, if you will.
Right.
I don't know this. I'm just speculating. I can't imagine Hitler being real happy with that.
Oh no,
I would have parked it right where it was and said, you want us? Come on, here we are.
He had a longer range, so he could reach out and touch somebody before their guns were in range.
That's what I'm saying.
If he still had enough ammunition, but he had enough to fight halfway across the mouth of the Rio de la Plata. Halfway isn't enough.
Quite a story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They call it actually a heavy cruiser here.
What was the heavy cruiser? The Spey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, warhistoryonline.com. But Life and Death of the German Heavy Cruiser Admiral Graf Spee. Obviously written by people who don't know what the hell they're talking about.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
You know, you got all these Johnny-come-lately people. There's one outfit called the U-boat guys, the veterans and real serious researchers, referred to as U-boat.not. Where they got theories, fairy tales, guesses, and if you write in and ask for information about the U-boat full of treasure sunk in the Sea of Tranquility, you'll have 100 replies before somebody realizes the Sea of Tranquility's on the moon. We are the only ones who have the accurate history because we got it from the guys who were there. Kretschmer, the greatest submarine commander of the war. Like I said, I had a sleeping room in his house. Erich Topp, the third most successful, he was over here. Kretschmer was over here in Chicago once when we had a patrol in Chicago. Topp was here. Hess was over 3 or 4 times. Hans-Georg, who became my best friend. I was over to Topp's house. Hardigan was here a couple of times, once in Chicago, once down here in Florida. And I was over to his house, I don't know how many times. His house was so big, he had to have 2 addresses. 16/18 was his address. And once these guys knew that Shark Hunters was a serious history organization and not a bunch of radical neo-Nazis, they networked us with everybody. And thank God for that. And I gave them my word I'd keep their history alive, and that's what I've been doing. Nobody gets a salary here at Shark Hunters.
No.
Me included.
Don't I know that? Tell our listeners about the free membership you're offering again through the end of the year.
Right. Anybody who wants to, just send us an email at sharkhunters@sharkhunters.com and say you want the free membership till the end of the year. We need your name and your email address. That's it. And you're on until 1st of January. And if you wish to stay on after that, you're welcome to stay on. If you don't want to stay on, okay, bail out. But there's no cost, no credit card, no nothing. All we need is your name and your email address. And you'll get our magazine. Jeff can tell you about our magazine. He's been a member, since 2013.
1958, I told you.
Okay, I forgot. 1958. I was in tech school for thermonuclear weapons with the Air Force back then.
I was in my crib.
Yeah. Were you even born?
Not yet.
Well, that's what I figured. I didn't think you were up to that age.
Just an accident. Here, listen to this. The object, I'm going to just jump in and read part of an article here. Down at the port in the old section of this city, Montevideo, I guess, of 1.5 million people, an important piece of that dreadnought is on display, guarded by sailors, few of whom know much about the Graf Spee and its short life and surprising death, and might wonder what it has to do with Uruguay. All right, it's Uruguay.
Mm-hmm.
The object drawing all the attention is the Graf Spee's electronic rangefinder. 27 tons of rusted steel perforated here and there by the eroding salt of the estuary. A machine so sophisticated at directing the ship's 11-inch guns, it made the Graf Spee one of the deadliest craft afloat in the world. It was detached from the hulk by a Uruguayan salvager named Hector Bado, B-A-D-O. He and Alfredo Echegaray, hope I'm getting that pronunciation right, with the support of British marine archaeologists, are determined to raise the Graf Spee and make it a museum. Tourists will come, they believe, from Britain, Germany, and from that region in South America. The story of the ship and its fate is embedded in the histories of the two countries, etc. So there was talk of doing exactly what I suggested at the beginning of the program. This is May 8th, 2004, and it hasn't been brought up yet. So apparently they ran out of funds.
Yeah, Echevarria, I think, is the name of the guy who financed most of the salvage. That rangefinder is on the grounds of the headquarters of the Uruguayan Navy. Huh. We went there, Martin and I, and wanted to go in, and the officer of the deck said, "Nope, we couldn't go in." And then I showed him my U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary ID, and oh yeah, come on in. We got to see everything except the Eagle. We'll get to that in a minute. That is just, when we get to the pictures of the Eagle, we'll get into the history, the politics, and all the rest of that. Mickey Duck.
The quality of Langsdorff as a commander and a human being was revealed during his brief stay in Montevideo. He immediately arranged to have those among his crew who died in the battle buried with full military honors. Right. Hundreds of the Graf Spee's crew poured off the ship for the ceremony and marched through Montevideo, followed by the scores of merchant marine officers from Britain who had been prisoners aboard the Graf Spee, having been taken from their ships before they were sunk. So they had enough respect for Langsdorff to march with he and his men to honor the crewmen who were killed.
Right. He was an honorable man.
Yeah. The 36 crew were laid to rest for the duration of the war in ground made available in the British cemetery. Langsdorff hailed his dead sailors with the German naval salute, eschewing the Nazi salute, a gesture received badly by the German ambassador who was present. Word of it also rankled Hitler back in Berlin, who, it is said, ordered Langsdorff to take the ship out and go down fighting. Lacking ammunition, Langsdorff knew this would result in the deaths of many or all of his crew. Thus, he arranged to have most of them surreptitiously transferred onto an Argentine freighter. Then, in the early evening of December 17th, with an abbreviated crew, Langsdorff set the great ship in motion toward the outer harbor, filled it with explosives on hand, and as the three British cruisers began to move in closer in anticipation, he turned and anchored east of the old harbor and made off with his men to Buenos Aires on the freighter that held the rest of his crew. They would be interned in Argentina for the duration of the war. Many would stay there the rest of their lives.
Oh, yeah. Oh, most of the enlisted men never came home, married Argentine girls. And let me switch back for a second to where Langsdorff made the Navy salute and not the so-called Nazi salute. They didn't do the right arm in the air in the Navy at all until after the July 1944 assassination attempt on Hitler's life in the Wolfschanze. Then after that, they had to do the right arm in the air salute. But up until then, it was always the military salute. And as for the Nazi salute, there's no such thing. That was the old Roman salute.